Recall effort against Gavin Newsom, governor, Karen Bass, mayor of LA, underway in California following alleged mishandling of LA fires. Let's get into it. Here we go. Let's watch this video. Here we go.
As Los Angeles battles its worst wildfire in history,
I'm definitely a critic of the mayor. She was in West Africa while Los Angeles was burning.
The city's top elected official, Mayor Karen Bass, is facing criticism on a number of fronts.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor?
A Sky News reporter,
Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again.
Grilling Bass after she landed in Los Angeles when...
You can't say nothing. You have to address it one way or the other. You have to say something. And whether or not she's responsible for this, saying nothing is probably the worst thing she could do, because people are just going to say, what were you doing in Ghana? Well, says nothing.
Wednesday, returning from a diplomatic trip to Ghana. Bass left on Saturday. The National Weather Service issued warnings last Thursday and again on Sunday about extreme fire weather conditions. Monday, Bass posted on X, there is an expected destructive and potentially life-threatening windstorm. By Tuesday, according to the city, Bass was already flying home as the Palisades fire was quickly spreading. Since being back on the ground, the mayor has been on defense over her absence.
I'm in constant contact with our fire commanders, with county, state, and federal officials. I took the fastest route back, which included being on a military plane, which facilitated our communications.
Another complaint, some resident.
What were you doing in Ghana? I mean, literally, what were you doing in Ghana? You had a major weather notification coming through, and you're in Ghana. Africa. Not LA. Not California. And you had indicated, Mayor Bass, that you were not going to do any more international travel. And yet you've done, I think, 5 international trips on the taxpayer's dime since you've been in office. But hey, you know what? Let's just keep going, right?
And say there wasn't enough water where and when it was needed.
Started with the wind, everything. And, I started waiting on the floor, the roof. The pressure of the water is going away. So I started, filling up buckets, the trash cans with water.
There's not water in the fire hydrants. I paid for it, didn't I? Oh.
Did some hydrants run low? The short answer is yes. Some more context. According to the Department of Water and Power, all 114 water storage facilities were filled, but heavy use of fire hydrants depleted the supply. The extreme conditions, compounded by high winds, keeping firefighting aircraft grounded.
We all know that this has been an unprecedented event. We also know that fire hydrants are not constructed to deal with this type of massive devastation, and that the number one problem, especially on Wednesday, was the fact that we weren't able to do the air support because of the winds.
Bass now also having to defend the decision.
Even with the air support, I mean, Mayor Bass, you got caught with your pants down. That's bottom line here. I mean, it just is. Just burp. Yeah, you can't argue that. Oh, I got the fastest flight back. You were 17 hours away by the fastest plane ride home. Yeah, what were you doing? Well, you know, Ghana.
To reduce the fire department's 2024-2025 budget. Last summer, she approved cutting more than $17 million from it. Last month, LA's fire chief raised concerns with the mayor and city council, saying in a memo, these budgetary reductions have adversely affected the department's ability to maintain core operations. Bass says the cuts did not impact fighting these fires.
No reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days.
And Aaron, the total...
Well, I mean, maybe. We'll have a full investigation and we'll see. Because you know what? A lot of folks are saying otherwise. Like there's trucks that weren't able to have maintenance done. Yeah, things like that. things like that.
For the Los Angeles Fire Department is a little more than $800 million. Bass has said in the past that budget included money for things like hiring new firefighters. But again, her critics, and there are many of them on the ground there, being very vocal, saying that her judgment is in question.
You want to support this channel? Head on over to reasonabletv.com. It's where we've got additional content like this one. Pimp Shootout. Uber hero saves trafficked woman. That was a wild, this is a Seattle story. A lot of these are Seattle stories. We've also got the illegal immigrant torches New York City commuter, because we've got some, footage there, people on fire. Can't run that elsewhere. What's this going to cost you? It's going to cost you $3.99 a month. Check it out for free. Get a 14-day free trial. Thanks in advance. Back to your regular scheduled program. First article we're going to look at is, this is Newsom. Now, Newsom, he survived a 2021 recall effort. He just had too many blue voters in state of California. They can't get him out. But with what you've got going on here, will there be enough voters in the Los Angeles area to make this go? Because, my thought is maybe on the mayor, probably still no on the governor, because no matter what Gavin Newsom does, he has he's got that backing of all of these California liberals who just think he's the greatest thing ever. And his reaction to the fires has just been stupendous. It's like listening to Gavin Newsom talk about Biden. You're like, are we even talking about the same individual? Because what we've seen out of Gavin Newsom is something wildly different than the reality you're talking about, which to me is probably just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. A recall attempt to knock California Governor Gavin Newsom out of office is underway as he faces, and Mayor Karen Bass, as he faces sharp criticism for his handling of the Los Angeles wildfires, with opponents labeling his leadership a series of catastrophic failures. Organizers against Newsom vowed to file papers in the next 2 weeks in hopes of jumpstarting the process that could lead to the Democrats' ouster in the middle of his second term in the governor's mansion. Here's some of the complaints, and we're not just talking about the wildfire, right? Under the reign of Governor Newsom, living in California has become impossible for average people through years of poor policies, which have increased the cost of living, increased crime, increased drug use and homelessness, increased the cost of burden on small businesses and communities, while decreasing our professional standards, decreasing education standards, disappearance of billions of taxpayers' dollars. Where'd all that $24 billion go to homelessness? To failed pet programs in our public services, one recall organizer, Randy Economy, said in a statement. This was most recently demonstrated by the woefully unprepared and incompetent response to the fires currently ravaging the Los Angeles area. Newsweek on Monday that plans for a recall were in the works before the wildfires started, but the chaos has shortened our time frame and changed things. They've got momentum going their way. They've got momentum. So we've got a separate online petition calling for Bass to step down as the mayor of Los Angeles launched Wednesday. The change.org petition had garnered more than 130,000 signatures. We demand the immediate resignation of Mayor Karen Bass due to her failure to lead during this unprecedented crisis. Water supplies have been severely strained, billions of taxpayers' dollars have been misallocated or left unaccounted for, and countless lives have been lost. The city has been woefully unprepared to ensure the safety and well-being of its residents. Footage of a speechless Bass. I mean, that was just absolutely the worst thing she could have done is just kept her mouth shut. If you're being accused of a crime, that's one thing. That's one thing. But if you are the mayor, people look to you for an explanation. And with you just sitting there going, not saying anything at all, that is basically just, hey, go ahead and admit it. You're guilty. That is literally kind of what you're talking about. Footage of a speechless Bass after she was asked questions about the fires went viral last week. She's faced intense criticism over revelations the Santa Ynez Reservoir, 117 million gallon water storage complex, part of the LA water supply, sat empty and out of commission when the fires broke out. Then we got the local fire hydrants went dry as emergency personnel tried to fight this is just going to go on and on and on. I don't understand how they did not cancel her trip, a senior staffer for another local elected official. So now you've got all this finger pointing. Why was she in Ghana? What was she doing? What's happening? What's going on? How about, so you got these recall efforts going. How about the other major storyline going on? Kevin O'Leary on wildfire aid. Not a dime for Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass until they're removed from office. Oof, yeah, okay. What's he saying here? Let's take a listen.
Kevin O'Leary with me. He's known as Mr. Wonderful, and he's itching to get his 2 cents worth in on Gavin Newsom. Give me 30 seconds.
And Bass. I think every town, including those in California, would like to tie this aid to removing Newsom and Bass. Now, gone. Part of the deal would be, and I know Trump likes new ideas, here's one, not a dime until those two are whacked from their jobs immediately. They are so incompetent, and all of the decisions they've made led to this, and they're still making mistakes. They're horrific managers. Whack them.
Okay. I want to...
Yes. I mean, tell us what you really think, Kevin. What do you got going on here, right? I mean, now, what the Democrats are going to say is, hey, we didn't do that with Florida. We didn't do that with North Carolina. We sent the aid. Major issue I have there is so much of what has happened here in Los Angeles has been preventable from the standpoint of, wildfire management, forestry management. Have your stuff ready to roll. You knew this event was going to happen. You knew major wins, like we saw with the video with Karen Bass, with Mayor Bass. She's sitting there tweeting as she's trying to get a plane ride home. Man, she probably couldn't get back fast enough, could she? She's like, okay, we got some wins coming, but I'm in Ghana because, Africa. We love Africa for whatever reason. Got something going on there. I think somebody was being elected or who knows what, somebody that she had never met. Instead, this happened. So her timing was horrific. Her optics were horrific, but they were even more horrific with the way she handled just, basically admitting full tilt guilt by not saying anything. You can't do that. You can't do that. You are the mayor. People are looking at you for an explanation. And when you sit there with the stupid look on your face and just kind of stare blindly ahead, you're not being accused of a crime. You're being looked to for information. And then you've got Gavin Newsom. I'm trying to talk on the phone to the president, but I can't get my call out. And some lady's asking, what about my daughter's school? There's all these different things that are going to come up. And Gavin Newsom basically just blames local officials. Yeah, we're trying to figure out what's going on. And because the Santa Ynez Reservoir, that is an LA County reservoir and not a state reservoir. He's going to put the blame. Newsom's going to put the blame on the county. What are you doing with that reservoir? Why isn't it just filled with water? House Democrats are warning Speaker Mike Johnson that tying federal wildfire relief for California to the debt limit could set a new precedent that would come back to bite Republicans. I don't think any of this stuff would happen. I don't think the recall against Newsom's going to work. Didn't work before. I'd say that's probably going to be it. You might have some more votes on that. The Karen Bass, you know what? I think Karen Bass could go. That to me just her optics have been even worse than Gavin Newsom. So why does this matter? Disaster-prone red states like Florida and Louisiana, Johnson's home state, could face a similar squeeze from Democrats if they retake the House. The places like high school, it's tit for tat when one side breaks a norm. The other is happy to return the favor. But the real issue you've got here is the perception of mismanagement and lack of preparedness, right? Yeah, hurricane comes through. You can only do so much. Forest fire that has been happening on a regular basis, and you don't have all your ducks lined up in a row, arguably. We'll see what all the reports say when they come out. This is going to go on forever. This is going to go on for years. right? This will be one of those things. Remember when we were talking about the fires? Well, here's a story that came out 3 years later. Here's a report. Yep, Newsom didn't have it squared away, but he's out of office now. Nobody cares. Karen Bass is now she's whatever she's going to end up doing after this. But right now they are both on the hot seat, and they're trying to do whatever they can to kind of work their way out of the mess. I think Gavin Newsom will be a little bit above the mess as far as what Karen Bass is dealing with, but we'll see, right? We'll see. Either which way. You've got some crazy stories coming out of this. Now we're dealing with looting. We're dealing with landlords jacking up the rents, but you've got a massive supply imbalance with housing. It burned down because arguably mismanagement. So you further shrunk that supply of housing. And even if your house didn't burn down, you're in an area where your schools did, your stores did, just about everything else did. I mean, those areas are just going to have to face some massive, massive rebuilding. And in California, that is not the easiest thing in the world to do. That's going to take just literally years and years and years. And if it doesn't, it's because politicians push through all kinds of exemptions, and they basically just say, you know what, we're going to take all the rules in place and we're going to push those aside and we're going to let everybody rebuild. And then people are going to go, but you're letting the rich people rebuild. We've been trying to get an addition to our house since 1984 and it's cost us this much money. You're just going to have a bunch of that, right? But if you try and make this process simple, it just kind of goes to show, well, then why, California, have you been so why do you have so much in the way of overregulation, and why are people leaving in droves? Because of all these factors combined. And I think that's what could push Bass out and gruesome Newsom. I think California's stuck with him for another couple of years, and then he'll try and run for president in 2028. Good luck with that. Just a montage of homelessness and fires and all that. It's all Republicans got to do. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.